Booyah!
So in my last grenade launcher video, I seem to have received a lot of criticism, and justly so. Looking back on when I made that video, I did make some severe mistakes in it. Firstly, I wasn't taking into account all the updates that would happen between then and now, and for that reason, a lot of the weapons have changed, most notably the lock and load. And as well as that, I seriously misjudged the loose cannon. Like, seriously, like the loose cannon was much better than I thought it was. Now, although I don't see it as great as people say it is, I still do concede slightly and admit that it is a far more viable weapon than what it's given credit for. For those reasons, I'm going to readdress all the grenade launchers again, just so I can keep my conscience clear about this. Anyway, on to the video. Firstly, we have the big issue, the loose cannon. Now, the loose cannon was a huge complaint from everybody. Everybody in the last video complained about my consistency with the loose cannon, which I thought, basically what I said last time was that the loose cannon is not a viably competitive weapon. I said that the weapon is too fun and jokey and is mostly kind of based around pushing people about. However, I've seen the error of my ways, and I've seen how amazing double dunking can be if you do it right. Now, the reason I had this opinion about it is because nobody in pubs can use the loose cannon correctly. Well, I'd say about 10%, but a very small percentage, because it takes a lot of skill to correctly time the loose cannon to get consistent double dunks all the time. Which I do admit, if you can do that, that's 140 damage. 40 damage more than what the pipes can do, and is a one-hit kill for scouts now that the lock and load is gone. But given all of that, it is still a very difficult weapon to use, and it's basically it's a bit like the direct hit, because you're trying to relearn projectile speeds all over again. It's very complicated to get used to separately from the pipes. For that reason, I prefer the pipes personally, because I've had so much more experience with pipes, but I do see how in competitive and in pubs, people do prefer the loose cannon, because it does have a huge damage output if you can use it correctly. Next up, we have the lock and load. Now, the lock and load is the second big change here. The lock and load kind of sucks now. It's not that it kind of sucks, it's just not as good as it used to be. When it was run before, it was a bit like the direct hit of grenade launchers. It just did insane amounts of damage to everything with a huge projectile speed, but with a slightly smaller clip. Now, all of that is still the case, except for one main difference. This huge damage buff only really applies to sentries now, and things that aren't actually people. For that reason, it's actually still pretty good, it's just not to the level it used to be. It is still amazing. I mean amazing against engineers. I mean, like, it just shuts down every sentry and dispenser and teleporter that they ever want to set up. And if there's an issue with engineers in a pub, it's great. If in HL an engineer is pushing you down, then it's definitely the best option. However, I still don't think overall it's the most viable option. Even though its projectile speed is definitely a plus, the damage output isn't as big as the pipes for the loose cannon anymore, because it does the same as the pipes, faster, but it fires off its clip just slightly faster, which makes it from 400 damage to 300 damage. And yes, you can still use a lock and load for a very good reason. 300 damage is still enough to kill a non-overhealed heavy. However, 400 damage is almost enough to kill a overcharged heavy. So overall in pubs, there isn't actually that much of a difference, except for the projectile speed, which again takes some time to get used to, and the smaller clip, because otherwise it's almost the same weapon now apart from against sentries and dispensers. But overall, it is still a very viable weapon, albeit not as good as it used to be. Now, the last one is still my least favorite. Back when I first made this and when the first Love More update came out, I first hated the Iron Bomber, didn't like anything about it. I hated the way its projectiles didn't move, usually meaning getting out of the way, but really easily. I hated the way its pipes were really awkward. I hated a lot of the things about it, and honestly, I can only ever hit stuff with it if it's a direct. Otherwise, I don't hit shit with it. Personally, I believe it's because, to me, the lack of movement on the pipes make it a lot more difficult to get the sufficient damage out if you don't hit them directly. Still, by far, my least favorite grenade launcher. This is the one weapon that I will not change my opinion on. This weapon, I still hate it so much. There are people who definitely love it, and they love the consistency of it not moving. In fact, some people find it a lot easier to hit pills on the floor without the movement. But personally, I don't see it. Honestly, a person has to almost stand completely still for it to even affect them at all. And to me, that's just not good. Anyway, that's all I really wanted to do. Like, this was just an update video, just changing my 2 opinions on those 2 weapons. I was slightly caving. Anyway, that's it. I'll see you again next time. Have a nice day.